what we're looking at here, all this light green area over here is the Mississippi floodplain. And it goes all the way down, mostly over into Mississippi because that's the short side. But ours over here, because there's a short side over here on a lot of it, because you look how big that Mississippi River was. During the end of the Ice Age, tons and tons of water came down through here. Now, it used to come down over here through Ohio and go down way over here. But now it just goes right down through us. Now, look here. Again, what I was just talking about is sometimes you'll see delta and sometimes you'll kind of go through spots of delta and not delta. Well, here's an example of it right here. This is pretty close to us over here. And you're going to see 2 or 3 major roads that go through here. And I'm trying to find, I need to go up just a little bit right here to Highway 82. And you'll see that Overflow Hill, again, you see how it kind of runs up and down all the way through here, the lighter part with the dark part. But there's also right betwixt the bayou, right betwixt the Overflow Hill over there, and you have Overflow Hill Creek that runs pretty much the whole length of Overflow Hill. But also you have the Bayou Bartholomew. So this going to look even, it's going to look even different there. It's going to have more patches of dark green because you got the bayou running down through there. There's a cat face. But I mean, so you got this, so you've got the delta right here with a lot of this, but you got mixed in with all these fields, all these little tributaries and creeks and bayous running down through there. And then right there next to it, you'll see this, what they call Cutoff, not Cutoff Creek, but Cutoff Creek is right up in there. You'll see this Overflow Hill Creek as well that runs right down through there. And it pretty much follows this thing all the way down. And this Mississippi, you can see it goes all the way up from, really, you can see Little Rock. You can see the delta kind of bleeds in over a lot of what's east of Little Rock is delta. West of Little Rock, pine trees. Except for when you move down south, we happen to be a little bit further, our part of the world, a little bit further east than them because it's not as wide of a floodplain in our area. And we are in what's called the upper timberlands. If you go over here and you run the you run where you're at on your altitude, you'll find you're about just 75 to 80 feet above sea level, all up in the delta area. But now if you go over here like to where I live over in Crossett area, and this is Crossett, it'd be about 130, 140 feet. Now if you go up here to Monticello, and it goes a little bit higher up there in Fountain Hills, about 180 feet. And then on up around Monticello, that's a really high up there. It's about 300 feet. So it's like a very high area. Now there's some low spots there, but what you're seeing when you look at those low spots and these light colored spots, you're seeing where it used to be water. There used to be an ocean there too before there was a flood zone. When there was some water that was pushed down that changed it when they call it Great Flood or whenever the Ice Age ended or whatever you want to call it. But there is, been a substantial amount of water that's moved from those ice caps down over the years. And this is a huge amount of area. If you go back 300 million years and you go up to where my dad lived, he lived right up. Let's see where he lived. Let's go up here. It was about right up in here around Flipping. And there's some areas around here where there is literally, and I still have a whole bag of it in there of sea animals, fossils right up there. But anyway, so this is, but this whole thing, because like I said, right now it's a mountainous region up there. But a long time ago it was something else. But this delta, it's just, there's no rock really all up and down this thing. It's just dirt all the way up and down this thing on both sides of it. There's no substantial, unless you go way north up there. But from this whole delta, about somewhere around really, from Memphis, maybe a little bit further north than on down. That's the delta right there. And that there, whenever you talk about the delta, it's on both sides of it right there. And it votes blue all the way down and includes places like New Orleans. You can still see that same kind of little pattern where that river goes to. There's a delta around the floodplain. And that's been like that for ever since the flood was gone. However you want to look at it. Ever since the water's been covered with the planet's been covered with water and it all drained and it all went back up to a polar cap to where it's at now. That's where it left at right there, that delta. And through the flood, through the ice ages, and that's what I mean by the delta. Now, I think it's important for people to understand that thing. I mean, it moves a lot of water, and here's the deal too: that a lot of water from all these other places, like from us, if our water, the river that runs by us over here. See, now we're surrounded by rivers, but up here is a different kind of river than the Mississippi River, although it feeds right into it. But let's see here. I'm trying to find. Let's see here. I want to go over this way, Arkadelphia, and then I want to go to Hot Springs. So Hot Springs, if you look here around Hot Springs, you'll see Lake Ouachita, but the Lake Ouachita is where the hell is it at? It's what flows into right here. You can see the Lake Ouachita. I kind of got it in there now, where it goes right down through here, the Ouachita River, and it flows all the way up. You should be able to see it right there as it flows up all the way up through there. But now let's kind of aim in on it. So now that's a different kind of a river right there. You can see it, but it's not quite the same. It's not, in other words, this river right here, it doesn't have a huge spill factor. It's not a major drainage. This is just a relief river in some ways. It's probably not always, it probably hadn't been there forever. But it's probably a good thing that it's there, because it comes down, goes around through El Dorado. You can see it right down through here. It comes down through Morro Bay, and then it goes down through Felsenthal into the upper Ouachita, Monroe, all through there. And then down here, it collides in with Bayou Bartholomew, and then it runs on down until in a minute there, it's going to go right into the Mississippi River. It all drains to that big Mississippi River a little bit further south of us. And that's what whenever I've been looking for a reason to talk about this. And Donald, you don't know how much I appreciate you letting me talk about that delta over there for a little bit. But now you want to go to Eudora? Let's go to Eudora and let's look at that thing real quick, okay?
Well, I mean, the Eudora is part of the old riverbed. I mean, again, back during
You talking about, is that Grand Lake? Which one are you talking about? Is it Grand Lake? Or I'm just talking about. There's a bunch of those things over there. There's Lake Chico. There's Grand Lake. I don't know the one in Eudora. What's it called?
Go to Grand Lake, but in Eudora, it was the old riverbed. It's where the Mississippi used to flow before the earthquake, where the Mississippi changed direction. It became a little check spot, But now with the Delta, I mean, all of that little lower green means it's a floodplain. That means all the silt and all that rich earth that has been washed down through has grown up. That's why the Delta is so productive. It's all that silt comes down through. It's a floodplain, but folks intend on building on it, and you can't live in a floodplain. The Mississippi comes from the Great Lakes to the absolute top of the United States, all the way to Louisiana. It's a very major, trade traffic lane, but it does flood below. There's locks and dams, there's things to go through, but the Delta is a very rich area only because it has backed up, and all that silt from up north settles out. When I say the Delta and Overflow Hill, I ain't worried about the Mississippi. I'm just talking about that rich buckshot mud. I have crawled across there and found, Indian heads and who knows how many Milligan things. This was a very contested area back during history before it was actually written. And there's proof of it everywhere around us. I mean, believe me, this is my land is covered with folks looking for Indian heads. Don't know if there's ever a battle here, but folks are always looking for them. So apparently there was something here. But now it's close enough to the Delta, but I'm high enough, just like what you're talking about. I'm high enough above the land to sea level that when these things changed, the Delta became a rich, fertile land. We only call it the Delta because it's a very rich, fertile land. And most folks get their food from it.